That's like on fire on fire.
It's on fire on fire. Oh, and there's the mess. Alright guys, what's going on? So today we are finally starting our prep for duct tape drags. So if you haven't heard already, we're driving my F100 to Tucson Dragway for duct tape drags. So last time we brought my F100, we ended up taking the motor out 7 days before we had to be there, and we trailered it all the way out to a show and made it good and fine. But just like old times, we're gonna do the same crap, and I leave tomorrow and I haven't even started prepping this thing yet due to other things that I had to do during the week. So thankfully the truck does drive. I've driven it probably 1,000 miles in the last month, 300 of those miles in a single day. So I know it's good to drive. It shouldn't really need too much. So realistically, the only things that I should have to do is bolt check it, do a fluid change and check on everything, make sure it'll pass tech. I'm gonna go ahead and modify the PCV event system and vacuum system to go ahead and try to fix my oil issue and try to get some of that crankcase pressure relieved, and a few other little things that should help the drive. But other than those things, it should be a pretty straightforward prep. The truck does run and drive pretty well, so all it really needs to do, I've told myself this, that if the motor can drive all the way out there, run 2 days drag racing, and go on a trailer and get trailered back, that's all I need. This motor can blow up at that point and I wouldn't care. Yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing we're gonna go ahead and start with is moving the truck over there. It hasn't been over there in quite a long time, so I'm gonna go ahead and flush the oil and check the tranny fluid, as well as check the gear oil, and then I'm gonna basically go back to front and bolt check the entire truck and make sure the steering and the suspension is all bolted down, so I don't grab fourth and have the rear end fall out of it, you know? But the one other thing I did want to add is I don't know actually at the time of this upload if I will or I have not, but if I have not already hit 100,000, we are like 200 away or 100 away. So if you haven't subscribed already, I would really appreciate it. It'd mean the world to me if you don't want to miss out on some of the content we're putting out pretty soon here. It's definitely some good stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this thing over, and we're gonna get working on it. All right, so I get to just do a bunch of little things here. The one thing I know we're gonna change is on the catch can setup. I'm gonna run a T off of this. I have a fitting, a -10. We're gonna basically run off of that to an oil air separator, so this thing doesn't eat its own oil, and then run that back into the intake on the PCV port. So you can barely see it, but there is like a little nipple over there. I could put a hose on, and then that'll allow me to relieve the crankcase pressure, and it will equalize because both of these are going into one area, and then that will go into the intake. So it's not like I'm pulling just from one bank, but from both sides of the motor, and it should help a lot. Hopefully it'll fix my oil issue. I know it'll help relieve the crankcase pressure, and then that oil air separator will make sure it doesn't actually pull in some of its own oil and just eat its own oil the whole time. But yeah, got my Monster, got my Pop-Tart, and let's get cracking. We got a bunch of stuff we gotta do. So one of the things I forgot about is being that this thing has a Milodon front sump pan instead of a rear sump for some stupid reason. I don't know why I thought I'd put that on. Just because I had it. The drain plug literally is about a ½ inch to an inch from the cross member, and it's on directly on top of it. But every time I take the oil out of this truck, it goes all over the cross member. That's something I'm very used to at this point. So that sucks, because I'm basically going to make a huge mess. I would say unintentionally, but I know it is gonna happen regardless, whether I like it or not. Just super annoying, and this thing's a pain to get on, and it's a pain to take back off. I literally had it to a point to where I had this drain plug all the way out, and it hit the cross member, and I had to cut it to get it off. Where's all the, there it is. I was like, all right, where's all the oil going? Well, you can see that is what it does. If you can see, sorry if you can't, I'm getting covered in oil. Drips all down the back of the cross member, and now on the front of the cross member. It's doing both, so that's cool. The oil looks good though, just looks a little dark. Yeah, oil changes of this thing suck, because after it drips for 20-30 minutes, I have to get down here and I have to wipe down the beams, the cross member, the oil pan, everything. Otherwise, dirt just sticks to it like a magnet. But everything else seems to look pretty good underneath here. All my grounds look good. Doesn't look like it's leaking oil out of the front. I'll just retorque the pan bolts real quick, make sure they're good. But yeah, fun, right? That's what car guys like to do. Let that drip for a little bit. All right, so this one's kind of difficult to do because the truck's lowered, but I do need to check the tranny fluid. Make sure it's topped off. Drain plug does look like it's leaking, which is great, which I knew. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the drain plug if I can get it off. I've always had problems with this drain plug and not being able to get it off. Oh my God, it's doing it again. Torque it to what it's supposed to be torqued to, and then it gets hot and cold so many times that it basically seizes up. Oh, there it goes. Oh my God, that's way tight. God damn it. This is a fill plug, Craig. What the fuck? I know y'all are just waiting for me to just slip and smash my hand on the exhaust. I'm sorry to let you know that I'm not gonna do that. Alright, I got it off. That sucked. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry you guys can't see anything from that angle, but my truck's physically too low to get that camera underneath here. Because that camera is like 6 inches tall. Actually, probably more than that. Probably more like 8. That's out. And so my finger's bare. And if I stick it in the transmission, I go down. And it's got a little bit of fluid on it. It could probably use a little bit more. So that's what I'm here for. My handy dandy bottle here. Grab this thing up and in here. I cannot do this without making a mess. I've done this so many times. And literally every time I do it, I make the biggest mess humanly possible. Damn, this thing's taking a lot of fluid. There it is. Oh, and there's the mess. Oh, where's the drain plug? I lost it. Oh, shit. Well, that sucks. Okay. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, God. Oh, I've been asked a bunch of times, how do I put oil in this thing? It's not really a secret, but you guys can probably guess. So I have to actually pull this fitting off. Pull this one off just because it's a little easier. And then I'll just pop this guy off, put a funnel in it. It's just a baffle. So basically, it'll just basically hit a wall and then just kind of, you know, fountain around it. So I just gotta put a funnel in that and then dump 6 quarts in it, which is gonna take forever. So we're gonna be running Valvoline VR1 2050. I like the 2050 in the older engines, even though this one's newer. You guys do know it has some looser tolerances than normal, so I like a thicker oil in it. So I've ran this stuff in the old engine, the new engine, it likes it, so just continue to use it. But yeah, this kind of does take a while because the baffle kind of fills up and takes a second to drain. So that's kind of the problem with these valve covers. We went ahead and you can see I welded a fitting there, and the reason I did is because these don't have any baffling underneath them. So these valve covers are realistically for mostly stock engines that I guess kind of just look cool. I wouldn't run these on any sort of high compression performance application, being because if you don't have a baffle installed in it, it'll just basically eat its own oil, and it'll push a bunch of oil into a catch can if set up if you have one, even though it may not have as much blow by as you think it does. It just doesn't have any baffling. So this one I installed the baffle. These are a weldable baffle fitting you can get on Summit. I had these welded in. They've so far definitely cured the issue, but it's just one of those things where if you want something bad enough, you have to make it work. So it's kind of what we did. Even with the baffles, it still pushes a little bit of oil into the catch can, which we also are going to drain today. Just got to pull it off anyways. All right, well, seems like it's all, I kind of had to like let it run, get it cycle all the oil, build all the pressure, get up to temp, and then get back down again. Seems like everything's good. It's running really good, so I'm stoked about that. But I was thinking that we were gonna go ahead and do a baseline at the drag strip with the current tune that it has. I haven't changed timing. I have not changed the setup since we built this motor. I think it's at like a measly little like 12 degrees of timing. The rev limiter is only at 5,500. This cam is designed to make power to 62. So realistically, this is on a very, very, very reliable baby tune. So the plan is to drive it out there like this, get decent fuel mileage hopefully with the current tune. Put octane, or actually no, we're gonna run a baseline pass, do probably about 3 passes on the current tune, see what it does. Then we're gonna put more timing in it, pull the rev limiter up higher. I haven't decided what number I want to go to yet, depending on, we'll feel it out as we go. And then I want to put either an octane booster, or if they have 110 octane fuel, I might want to try to run this on 110 because I know it'll do it. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting. Hopefully, I'm hoping that this thing should run with everything I've done to it. I'm gonna try to run about a 13.5 at 100 miles an hour ish, somewhere in that range. I would like to run a 13.5, but keep in mind I've never taken this down a quarter mile before, so I really don't know what it's gonna run, but I'm gonna try. So next thing, we got all our fluids, so next thing I gotta do is check the diff, which I have to pull the whole truck up in the air, and then I'm gonna bolt check the whole thing from front to back. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to film because this camera's so big, but I'll try. I have to go through the fun process of jacking this thing up, which is always a pain because everything's painted. Alright, well, this thing's definitely a process to get up in the air because I can't take the jack arm and actually grab any of the suspension parts directly without having a rag underneath it because it'll scratch them because it's a single stage paint. But if you haven't seen it before, so here's the underneath of my truck. It's fairly clean, at least I like to think it is, but you can see there's a bunch of cobwebs right there that we need to clean up and wipe this whole thing down, and I need to make sure there's actually fluid in the diff before I go 100 miles an hour down the drag strip. Oh, I do, yay! I'll check a couple things, one of which is the drive shaft U-joints, which are still good. Backlash on the rear end looks good. Yeah, these U-joints are way better than the first ones I had. I'm probably gonna re-grease them, but that's about it. Next thing I wanted to check was the actual gear oil in the rear end. It's basically the same thing as the tranny. I just gotta pull the plug out, stick my finger in there, and if there's fluid there, cool. So this is an expensive rear end. This is a 9 3/8 that I had completely gone through and rebuilt with new bearing seals and clutches. So it's a 411 limited slip 9 3/8 carrier, which you can see, I don't know if the camera can see it, but there's an arch right here. So I had to actually cut into the housing to get the ring gear to fit. So it's a big bearing 9 3/8 housing on a big bearing 9-inch with 31 spline axle. So this thing is like set up for some serious power, and I built it like that on purpose. So yeah, so I can say if there's one thing that's gonna break on this truck if I dump the clutch, this is not gonna be it. I'll break 20 drive shafts on this thing before I break this rear end. Next thing I gotta do is wipe everything down under here. It looks like crap. Got some spider webs up there I gotta clean, and I need to adjust my shifter. That does not line up right. I can barely get this thing, I can barely get it into first gear. So that's the next priority, is go ahead and adjust that guy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and check all my wheel bearings. My next priority. Also gonna clean these wheels. So as this side is a little bit better, there was a faint vibration, so I just want to check both my bearings. I already looked at the kingpins; those look good. Looks pretty dry, so I'm gonna go ahead and repack all those, make sure they're all good. Hi, boy. Yeah, definitely needs more grease. So this side actually does have not a bad wheel bearing, it just probably needs to be re-greased and re-torqued like the other side, but this one, I don't know if you guys could hear that, probably not, but this one's definitely loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop this one apart and open it up. It doesn't look too bad. Just because I can notice, I've done the whole kingpin thing with a few trucks now, so I can tell when a truck's kingpins are starting to kind of go out, or it's a front wheel bearing issue. You're doing about 40 miles an hour and about 60 miles an hour, and it'll start to shake a little bit, which is what this thing was doing. Not like a concernable amount, but just enough to where I was like, well, I'm driving this thing 400 miles, I should probably check them. So that is exactly what we're doing. So this one actually has grease, which is good. Unlike the other side, so what I'll do is I'll just re-torque it, check the bearing. It should be fine. I have a feeling it just backed off a little bit. A lot of times with these, they'll seat and you'll have to go back and retorque the actual bearing. They'll come loose just because it's a new bearing. It doesn't hurt to, especially when you run the tire size that I do and the camber that I have in front of this thing. I mean, nothing about this truck is designed to run the setup that I have. So it's to be expected, honestly. So I'm not upset. I don't even think it has anything to do with the bearing, to be honest, but I'm gonna, yeah, see, it was loose. I just barely touched it. So if I just pull this tight, yeah, I bet you if I just, yep, all the play's gone. Just needs to be torqued. I want to repack it anyways, or at least inspect it, make sure it's all good. The last thing I want to do is blow this thing out in the middle of the desert. So, because I shouldn't be able to move it, basically pull it to where the whole race is like almost falling out of the back. I can see the play, I can see where it's stretched. That means it was loose for a little while, and me driving it just kind of effed it up. So I'll have to go get another one of these, no big deal. Alright, well, I think we're pretty much done with all the prep that we have to do. The only thing I got to do now really is just do the PCV setup, get that thing welded, and then go ahead and adjust the shifter. I'll adjust the shifter last. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the PCV off real quick, take it down to my buddy Travis so we can TIG weld our fitting on it, and then run it all in. The only thing I'm regretting right now is I did dash 10, which is 5/8 hose, but for whatever stupid reason I didn't think that the intake side is all 3/8. So it's basically going to be the 2 valve covers into the catch can to an oil separator with 5/8 line into the catch can. From the catch can, it's going to be a dash 10 to the actual oil air separator, and then from the separator, it's going to be a 3/8 line into the intake. So it's going to kind of get restricted a little bit, but I don't think it should matter being it's a vacuum, and 3/8 is typically like the larger size that I see people run. That's what's on the carburetor, so that's all it should really need. So shouldn't be too big of a deal. It just kind of sucks it works out that way. But man, this thing looks pretty good. Looks pretty darn good, I must say. I like it when it looks like this in this lighting. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull that fitting off. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the driveway real quick, because when I have to do the shifter, I gotta lay underneath it, and I don't wanna be rolling around in a bunch of oil that I spilt. If you guys don't know, I use Purple Power for all my driveway stuff. As you can see, I make a mess of this all the time, but I always do end up cleaning it, and what I use is Purple Power driveway cleaner. If you go to O'Reilly's, they do have it in gallon jugs, and then you can put it in a spray bottle and do what I'm doing, and it'll come right off. All right, so I gotta go get that fitting welded in. I was gonna take the town car, but it's out of gas. It looks like the Mustang's up, so hopefully this thing starts. Just got down to Travis's. We're gonna fix up that catch can fitting and get that thing welded in. He's cleaning it up right now. And heat shield, I'm definitely gonna need another catch can kit. I think I kind of ruined this one. Oh,
that's like on fire.
That's on fire, on fire.
My hand was getting warm. That'll work good too.
Thank you. Alright, now I'm gonna go put that back on. And I gotta drive tomorrow, so that's fun. Alright, so this is what we kind of came up with. So basically what we got going on is valve cover on the right bank, valve cover on the left bank. This is just some cheap Amazon catch can. This thing's honestly a piece of junk. I already stripped the petcock out on it, so that doesn't work anymore. But I had my buddy Travis weld in a Dash 10. These are Dash 12 reducer or expanders. There's Dash 10 on this, then these are Dash 12 which go to the valve cover. This is a Dash 10 compression fitting, so you can see it's kind of bulging out. So basically this is the Dash 10 line. If you're not familiar with the Dash sizes, basically it's whatever Dash size is how many 16ths you have. So Dash 10 is 10 16ths, which is a 5/8, so sorry. That was probably pretty confusing, but yeah, this is a 5/8 fitting. Dash 10 is 5/8 fitting, which will go from there to our oil separator. So basically we have both valve covers accumulating into a catch can with an atmospheric breather, and then I'm going to pull it back into the engine with an oil to air separator, which is what this is. So you can see there's kind of like this weird material inside of there that will catch all the oil molecules so it doesn't actually go into the engine. Okay, so you can kind of see there's some material in there, so that'll actually catch all the oil molecules so it doesn't go back into the engine. This is a Moroso oil to air separator, so then I can actually drain this if it does accumulate things. So basically what I got is 2 catch cans here, but this one is designed specifically to catch oil and not let it travel back into, versus this one you could probably get some crap going back in the engine. So I'm running both to be safe because I don't want to eat my own oil. So basically this will be in line like this, and then we'll have both in equalizing here, and then that pressure will run through this guy. It'll separate the air from the oil, and then we'll run our vacuum back into the back of the carburetor, and that'll be our full PCV system that should in theory work. And the theory behind that is hopefully it will relieve a lot of the crankcase pressure within the engine, therefore less pressure on the seals, the main seals, which is where you have a big oil leak right now, and just internally it'll be less restriction and pressure. That should help a lot because I don't have anything, I just have the atmospheric one, and at high RPM driving this thing kind of like pushes some crap out of it. So I'm gonna put this on, hopefully it should work and make this thing work a lot better. So I'm gonna go and throw it on real quick. Alright, I'm going to drop this in. There it is. So just thread them on as far as you can. If I put that in there,
you probably have to make that hose
I
a little longer.
No, I can go right here. I can pull it up to right here. Alright, so. Oh, this is going to suck.
You should probably start on this side.
Oh, it didn't hit the ground. Nice.
This is really weird. Trying to get it in the hole, dude.
Okay, so in theory, I should probably
make sure it's not going to hit your throttle.
But the air cleaner is a good point my dad made. That is not a bad idea to check. Oh yeah, no, you're good. This guy needs to go above this though, up here.
Hello, neighbors.
Oh, this is nothing. They're used to it by now. I think what I'll do is I'll drill the first one, put a bolt in it, and then drill the second one through the bracket. I need to go get a pack of drill bits and measure that out and see which size is right. God, I just realized how zoomed in that was. You guys missed all the action.
That's all the way tight. Does that fit now?
It's a little big. It's as tight as it goes?
On the normal.
Gangster. You got a small head with either a big brain or nothing in it.
Yeah, well with me it's on 4.
Oh, this sucks. Oh, wow, that hurt a lot. Okay, I'm gonna have to put a wrench on that one. Actually, try it again. Oh no, we're gonna put a wrench on that. Well, there's a pretty good chance that after like a week, that's probably gonna tear off. I should have moved it over like a little bit more, but that looks sick though.
Oh damn.
It looks very race car-esque. And the brass fittings match the valve covers, and I didn't plan that.
Joe.
So that's cool. Dude, it's like an ass hair away. I could feel it.
It is an ass hair away.
So it's 11 at night. I'm gonna start.
And then we're gonna go drive it.
Oh no, perfect. Look at that. So when the motor flexes, it pops the line off.
Exactly. It's so fucking funny.
Okay, so let me give you guys a little basic rundown. If it didn't make sense before, I apologize. So I saw this on a Hot Rod article, which I'll put the link down below so you guys can see it. But basically, we have our 2-into-1 right there because these crappy valve covers don't have baffling. So my baffle is inside of that catch can. It has some it has some like baffling in there, but no actual like mesh to stop oil. So basically, at high RPM, this thing can push oil and catch can and condensation out of there. So I wanted to add this in to basically revent back into the engine. So that is basically an oiled air separator, which catches any sort of condensation. It's basically like another catch can, but it has an actual filter, unlike this. This has that filter, but it doesn't prevent it from actually going back into the engine. So this is basically, this should all equalize, and basically whatever the engine doesn't want in terms of air, it can escape right here. It won't be trapped. So in theory, this should work, I believe, from like a physical standpoint, but I really don't know. The only thing I will know, this engine is going to be running significantly leaner because it is going to be taking in more air through that 3/8 line in the back, which you can see we have it ran right to the back of the carburetor. Right there, you can see that line kind of coming through there. So that is the way I have this ran. You guys can copy it all you want, I really don't care. This is expensive, that's the only thing I will say. You're probably looking at like probably around $400 sitting right here in fittings and lines and cans and whatnot. So this stuff is not cheap, so just keep that in mind. I mean, just these weldable fittings, like these guys that go in the valve covers, are 25 bucks a piece without the, and then this is 25 bucks a piece, so it adds up really quickly. But it should work pretty well, so I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up in the morning. I will have to rejet the carburetor probably, or at least richen the mixture up a little bit. But this definitely should work, and this should hopefully relieve a lot of the internal pressure off of my seals. So that's kind of the really big thing I was trying here, is try to get the rear main and the front main to have less strain. Therefore, I might have fixed the oil leak, because that's really where it's coming out of. So in theory, I might be able to either replace it if it got pushed out, or this might fix it entirely. But I don't know, it was worth a shot, so I tried it anyways. All right, so it's like 11, no, it's like 10:40. It's not that late. I'm gonna start it up for like 10 seconds because I'm a little kid. Yeah, it's you can hear the idles up higher because it's pulling in more air. So I think if I just richen the mixture like a quarter turn maybe ish, I don't know, start there, pull the idle back down once it warms up, I think this should be a pretty good setup. Alright, so I went in and I drove it. I just messed with the idle. I haven't adjusted air-fuel ratios at all, but this thing definitely wanted more air. So one thing I can say is this thing is a lot faster. A lot, like noticeably faster. And when it's not a fast vehicle to begin with, at least for me, you can tell when something's definitely faster. So this thing revs faster. I mean, the rev limiter is like a safety precaution, just like a break-in period at this point. I mean, it feels like it would go all the way to 7 grand, no problem, and make power all the way up to it. So this cam is good to 62, so I know I can rev this thing a lot higher, and my rev limiter is at 55, but you guys are not gonna wanna miss the next video when we actually take this thing in the drag strip. Oh my God, this thing is gonna be fast. Fast for a truck, an F100, so, but yeah. And addressing the oil leak, so I think I actually did help it because in relieving that internal crankcase pressure, it does put a lot less strain on the seals. You guys won't be able to tell underneath here just because I hosed the ground off, but if you look, so you guys can definitely see the bell housing right there, and you notice how, like, I shut the truck off literally like 2 minutes ago. It's not dripping anymore. I mean, there's just a residual like wetness from when it was, you know, leaking before, but currently it is not dripping at all versus before. It'd be just going dump, 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 and just all over the ground. So yeah, I'm pumped. This is something I wanted to do for a long time, is get the whole PCV setup figured out, but I didn't want just some ugly, you know, tacky chrome polished, you know, vacuum line on the valve cover. I don't know. I think this setup works a lot better considering I do like the high RPM driving, so I want to make sure I have the system to work with it. This system seems like it works so far. I will obviously update you. I'll leave in the description of this video the article on that catch can setup where I saw it. It was on a boosted application, but it should still work for NA. So definitely take a read on that, and I'll keep updating you guys if this thing sucks or if it works really good. I have a feeling it's gonna work really good. So with that being said, thank you guys a ton for watching today's video. We're gonna pick this back up on our road trip out to Tucson Dragway in Arizona. The F100, we're gonna drive 450 miles one way and then beat the crap out of it for 2 days straight. You guys are not gonna wanna miss it. So subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.